by the late 1980s, the second world has practically disappeared. And the Cold War ended. The unipolar world emerged. The world has become one. I'm talking about the intellectual and conceptual origins of one world culture. We have, it is argued, a world society now, and therefore a global culture. Suddenly, the talk about numerous endisms have appeared. End of history, end of ideology, end of nature, end of ecology, what have you. So you will find a very interesting situation here. And it is in this context that we have to situate global culture and world society. And for the reasons I have already indicated, I am very suspicious of speaking about one world culture, although one can certainly speak of a world society. These are to be distinguished. But before I go to that, I think we must talk a little bit about multiple modernities.
Why do you emphasize upon multiple modernity?
You see, there are several reasons. To begin with, some empirical reasons. First of all, the tradition-modernity dichotomy postulated many traditions. Nobody ever talked about one tradition. Many traditions, but one modernity. This, if you have followed my argument, is empirically unsustainable. Because if you had multiple traditions, and even if there is one modernity, the interaction between this one modernity and with multiple traditions should have produced different permutations and combinations. That's one reason. Second, I have already indicated that there was at least two modernities, and that is accepted, that is recorded, that is conceptualized. The modernity, the so-called natural modernity of the first world, and the enlightened modernity of the second world. Thirdly, with the rise of the Asian tigers, particularly Japan becoming the development topper, people started wondering. So far it was a European monopoly, to be modern, to be developed. Now appears on the Asian horizon a new set of actors. So you had to account for that, what may be called Asian modernity. Fourthly, what I would like to call the dependent modernity of Latin America. See, that modernity is different from the European modernity. And the whole talk about terms of trade, differences in exchange, as against mode of production, has come into the social science literature because of them. And this dependent modernity only was different in terms of economy and sometime in polity. Culturally, they were the same. You go to Argentina, you will find Spain reproduced. You go to Brazil, it is Portugal writ large. So you will find in the Latin American context, much of the reproduction of the cultural periphery of Europe is very evident. In the same vein, I could suggest that one can speak of an Indian modernity. I've already indicated the particular combinations that was involved. Colonialism did not do much to the Indian religion. To be precise, after 200 years of colonial regime, the percentage of Christians is 2.3%. After 200 years of colonial regime, the percentage of people who can speak English is about 5%. So you will find that culture remains by and large intact, excepting the elite in the case of English language. Similarly, one can speak of an African modernity, wherein it seems to me, with my limited contact with that continent, there is a substantial cultural modernization, but very little of economic modernization. Now, the point I'm trying to make is, in conclusion of this point, to speak of a single modernity is to ignore these specificities. To emphasize multiple modernities is to realize and recognize the peculiarity of modernities of different civilizations and different regions in the world.